Hello, in this video I will show you how to use the functions unique, count A, count if, and count unique to summarize data in Google Sheets. I have a data file here that includes a list of students and their scores on a couple of tests, but what I'm going to be focusing on is their gender identification. So notice that I have quite a long list of students, 224 to be exact, and each student has indicated a different gender identification, and it's quite a variety of them. And because there's quite a few students in the data, it's hard to count how many different types of gender identifications are in the data and how many students are in each category. So I'm going to have to do it in a more systematic way. To do that, I am going to use a different sheet just because I think it's much better to summarize the data in a different place and keep all the summary statistics separate from the actual data. That way we can avoid errors. If I want to create a list of the different types of gender identifications that occur in the data, I can use the unique function. And let's do that in this cell. So I can type equal and then unique. Notice that Google Sheets is going to recognize this function. And all I have to do here is to indicate the data range that I want to use for this function. So I'm going to go back to sheet 1 and I'm going to select column B and then close the parenthesis and hit enter. Of course, the first one on the list is the word gender, which is not an actual gender identification, it's just the title of that column, and I'm going to use it as a title here. And then I have the other different types of gender identifications that show up in the data, and each one of them is listed only once. Let's say that my next step is to count how many students are in each category. So to do that, I can use the COUNTIF function. Let's type equal and then COUNTIF. I can select the COUNTIF function from the list. Again, I am going to go back to the data and then select column B. But this time I have to specify exactly which values I want to count or which types of gender identifications I want to count. And because I'm working with string data, I have to use quotation marks, and then I'm going to type male with the capital M because this is how it shows up in the data, and then hit enter. And now I see that I have 78 males in my data. And then I can just copy and paste the same formula in the other rows and then just to simply modify the word. So instead of male, I'm going to type each of the different types of gender identification. I'm going to do the same thing in each row. So here I'm going to type non-binary. Again, I have to be careful to use capital letters where needed to make sure that I am getting the correct results. Here I have multi-gender, binary, trans male, female, and transgender. Okay, so now I know how many students are in each category. If I want to get just a total number of values that occur in that column, I can use the function count a. So I can type equal here and then count a. If I was working with numerical values, I could use the function count. So the function count is counting all the numerical values in a data range. Count A, on the other hand, counts all the values regardless of their type, whether it's numerical or string data. So count A is a more general form of that function. So I'm going to go again to column B, but this time, because I'm actually want to count the gender identifications, I don't want to count the name of the column or the name of the variable. So I am going to start with the second row. So I'm going to start at B2 and then go all the way down. So close the parenthesis and enter. And notice that I have 224 here, which means I have 224 values in that column. So I can type the word total here. This is equal to the total number of observations that I have in the data set. If I had any missing data here, this would not be equal to the total number of individuals in the data. But since I don't have any missing values, this also represents the total number of students in my data set. Now, let's say that I want to count the number of gender identifications that show up in my data. Here I have 8 different types, right? I can count them, but if I had maybe a page or 2 pages of different types of gender identifications, it would be hard for me to count. So if I can ask Google Sheets to count those different types for me, so I can use the count unique function to do that. So I can type equal and then count unique. I can select it from this list. Again, I have to go back to the data, select column B. I don't want gender to be counted here because I'm counting the actual types of gender identification. So I'm going to start with row 2 and then close the parenthesis and hit enter. So this number represent the number of gender or different types of gender identifications. This table can actually be updated as the data are updated. So if I'm changing some of the cells here, or if I'm adding new data, the summary statistics in the table should change. For instance, let's say that maybe next semester I'm going to select or collect new information from my students. So just to demonstrate that, I'm just going to copy and paste these last few observations. So I'm copying them here. I'm increasing the identification number. So now I have 249 students. Maybe I even get a different type of gender identification next semester. Like for instance, maybe I'm getting androgynous. So now my table should be updated here. Notice that I have a different type here. I have 9 types of gender identifications instead of 8. All I have to do is to count the number of individuals who identified as androgynous. So I can again copy and paste the formula here and just type the word androgynous. And I can see here that I only have 1, which is correct, and the total number of observations in my data is now 249.